Hello and welcome to Shorts in Psychology. This is the first video in my new series called Mind Matters. The aim of this series is to raise your awareness of some common thinking errors and habits that may undermine your confidence in your learning and hopefully equip you with some skills to improve in these areas. In this video, we will look at how you can master your inner critic in order to boost your confidence in tests and exams. So what is the inner critic? The inner critic is a voice that provides internal negative commentary. It is the part of you that judges you, demeans you, and lowers your sense of self-worth. The inner critic is formed from life experiences and fed by negative messages society sends you about who you need to be in order to be worthy, smart, or successful. Inner critic voices commonly say things like, "You're ugly," "You're stupid," and "There's something wrong with you." Regardless of what the inner critic is saying, it is ultimately making us feel inadequate and undermines our confidence. This inner voice will also cast doubt on our goals and undermine our accomplishments. The inner critic can be defined as 7 types. The perfectionist tries to get you to do things perfectly. It has very high standards for behavior, performance, and production. Sometimes it prevents you from creating anything for fear it won't be good enough. Sometimes it makes you work forever trying to perfect something. This critic tries to control impulsive behavior that might not be good for you or others or might be dangerous. It tends to be harsh and shaming when you slip up. The taskmaster tries to get you to work hard or be disciplined in order to be successful or to avoid being mediocre. It can cause overstriving and workaholism. The underminer tries to undermine your self-confidence and self-esteem so you won't take risks that might be dangerous or so you won't try and fail. It makes you feel worthless. The destroyer makes pervasive attacks on your fundamental self-worth. It shames you deeply. The guilt tripper attacks you for some specific action you have taken or not taken in the past, or for repeated behavior that has been harmful to others or violates a deeply held value. It makes you feel guilty and will never forgive you. Lastly, the molder tries to get you to fit a certain mold or be a certain way that comes from your family or culture. It attacks you when you aren't and praises you when you are. If the mold doesn't fit who you are, it constantly makes you feel inadequate. Ultimately, it is not having an inner critic that is the issue. The issue is when you believe what your inner critic says to you and acts on its advice. Try and remember that thoughts aren't facts. Therefore, instead of asking what-if questions such as, what if I fail the test, and then jumping to the worst-case scenario, use the smart part of your mind to answer the question you just posed. Yes, what will you do if you fail the test? Life doesn't end right there. There will always be another avenue to follow. Let's break down this thinking process in more detail. So if you're worried about an upcoming test or exam and are dreading failure or that you won't do as well as you usually do, ask yourself, what evidence is there to support this being a likely possibility? Chances are there is little to no evidence to support this. On the contrary, the evidence might be that you have done well in previous tasks and have completed regular revision, both of which would suggest that rather than failing, you will be absolutely fine. If, however, you have struggled in previous tests or are underprepared, then your lack of confidence and worry might not be misplaced in this case. However, if that's true, so what? What are the possible outcomes if you are indeed underprepared and at risk of doing poorly? Being underprepared doesn't automatically guarantee that you won't do well in the test. Even with little home study, we have worked on topics consistently in class, and you might remember more than you expect. Despite feeling underprepared, still give the test your best effort, attempting all of the questions. This will maximize the feedback you receive, making the test a useful learning experience and source of feedback. By applying this feedback and being more prepared, you will do better next time. The other question you need to ask yourself is, what is the weighting of the task? Even if you do fail, will it have much impact on your overall grade for the subject? The answer is no. This is why teachers provide multiple opportunities for assessment throughout the year. It is easy, especially in your final year of school, to catastrophize and imagine one test leading to disaster. However, when you head down this path, try and stop yourself from going too far and focus on the facts. Furthermore, a lower grade than normal doesn't equal failure. Year 12 is tough, psychology is tough, and A is not the only great grade there is. Be kind to yourself. But let's say your grade isn't just lower than normal and you do fail. What's so bad about failing? Again, failing one test does not mean you will fail the whole subject. However, it is understandable that you'll feel upset about the result and disappointed. What you have to remember is that these feelings will pass. Therefore, try not to dwell on it too much and get carried away with "I should haves," or believe your inner critic telling you that you failed because you aren't good enough. Instead, look forward, learn from your mistakes, and plan for next time. Remember too that positive regard from others is not conditional on your performance in the test. Your teacher, friends, and family won't love or care for you any less because of a single test result. Once you have examined some of the negative thoughts you are having about the test, ask yourself, what does this say about my current thinking style? What negative commentary from your inner critic are you believing? Perhaps your inner critic is telling you to believe that positive regard is conditional, or that you are unable to change your situation, evidence of a fixed mindset. Maybe your inner critic is the perfectionist, telling you that you are never allowed to make mistakes, and only an A+ is good enough. Perhaps your inner critic is a taskmaster, telling you that no matter how hard you work, it is never enough, causing you to overstrive and lack confidence. These are just some of the ways in which your inner critic could be undermining your confidence and self-worth prior to a test or exam. Ultimately, identifying what thinking errors your inner critic is telling you is the first step to challenging and replacing them. Once you've identified what they are, how can you master your inner critic? One way to master your inner critic is to respond to your self-critical thoughts as if they were coming from someone else. If a close friend said to you, "I'm going to fail the psychology test," you wouldn't respond with, "Yes, you will, because you're stupid and incompetent." You need to speak to yourself using the same kindness and compassion that you use with others. Therefore, try and replace "I'm going to be disappointed with my result" with "This is my chance to achieve." Replace "I'm not prepared, I haven't worked hard enough" with "I am prepared, I have worked hard, let's do this." Instead of believing you aren't going to do well or that you might fail, remind yourself that you are capable of doing well and you're going to nail the test. Rather than thinking you haven't worked hard enough, remember that you deserve to do well because you have worked hard. And finally, if you're catastrophizing about the difficulty of the questions and your ability to answer them, and that the test will just be too hard, remind yourself that with all your resources and in-class practice, you know what is expected of you. Finally, shift your focus away from what you can't do and focus on what you can do. You can seek help from others, such as your teacher or fellow students. Also, what preparation can you do in the time you have left? Don't believe your inner critic and give up too quickly. And again, try not to look back, but look forward. What can you do differently next time to enhance your success? There are many strategies that you can use to master your inner critic and increase your self-confidence in tests and exams. And in this video, we have only covered a couple of these. However, hopefully this video has been a useful starting point to get you thinking about what form your inner critic takes and how you can start to master it. Just remember, like anything, identifying and changing your thinking takes time and practice. Thanks for listening, and if you have any content requests for the Mind Matters series, please post them in the comments below.